Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to this week's episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Truth. It's your girl, Naya Angel, here with my co host and homies for life, E Man and Mr. PAT. What's up, fellas?
What
What's
up? What
going
up?
on? What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, man. So, dude, we have a great episode on our hands here. We are talking about some very serious subjects, not only within the Black community, but in general. And before we dive in, I want to go ahead and take the time, and this is, of course, on all of our behalf. We would like to send our um, deepest love and sympathies to the family of DMX. We all love him here on the show, and we of course hope that he has a speedy and healthy recovery.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes,
You
I
got it,
agree.
Ron
Um,
Simmons.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, fellas. So diving right into our first subject, and this is definitely a difficult one. The death of Mohammed Anwar, who was a Uber driver in the DMV area. He was actually being carjacked when he actually passed away by two teenage girls. So this story has been circulating since it happened, and obviously it is a fairly serious subject. So the question related to it is, what are your thoughts on this situations and the girls being charged with murder? Because just to give everyone a high level overview of what happened here, two teenage girls went to rob Mr. Anwar, specifically to carjack him. And it ended up being, and I don't know if everyone has seen the video, but obviously it ended up going horribly wrong, and Mr. Anwar was killed in the altercation. Um, and as of the latest updates in this case, these girls are being charged with murder. So, with that said, that is the reason for our question. What are your thoughts on this situation and the girls being charged with murder? E-Man, I'm going to go ahead and throw this to you to start. What say you, sir?
Thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to say peace and blessings to Mr. Allmore's family. I hope I'm pronouncing the
Absolutely.
man's name right. Um, but when I heard about this story, it hurt. It hurt a lot, and it's not because the girls were black, you know black, young black girls. It was a simple fact that a man lost his life for no reason. You know, yeah, apologize, but it just how the story resonated with me because I've seen a lot of people who go to work, they work hard for everything they do, and there's certain people in this world that loves to take things away from people who don't deserve it. And in this case, it happened and it definitely went wrong. The most disturbing thing about the video, if you listen at the end, I'm not too sure it was the 15-year-old or 13-year-old, but the last thing she said when I think it was I don't know, there was like men, I think they had, army attire on, but they pulled the young girls out of the car. The last thing when the video cut, she actually said, my phone was left in the car, you know, like she didn't know what just really
Mm-hmm.
happened, you know, and it's sad that when people have to go to work and do what they have to do, they don't see what the other end is. Nobody knows if that man has a wife, a kid, you know, and this man just wanted to go to work, and it at the end of the day, it cost him his life, you know, and everyone should be able to do what they want to do freely, go about your day and whatnot, but it shouldn't cost your own life, for something really silly, you know. And towards like the girls and whatnot, I guarantee they're definitely throwing the book. I think they definitely deserve it, you know, because they had no right to even go near that man's vehicle, which they don't even own. They don't even know the man. And it hurts how, if you look at the end of the video and when they pull the girls out, and you can see his dead body on the far left side, like, you know, I've heard, I think the guy who was recording, he said, you know, call the ambulance and whatnot, but they let them know that those girls did what they did, you know, but nobody is not even attending to the man who they stole the car from and just leaving him dead motionless, like on the side. And that was the most hurtful thing, you know, that I had to watch. And it's really senseless that us as people, we don't want to do the right thing. And I hope we can, hopefully, if we can reach his family, you know, I just want to extend like the best loves and blessings to you guys, because that is a tough thing to swallow, you know, and I just want to leave it at that.
Understood, sir. Mr. PAT, what say you, sir?
What happened was terrible. I mean, a man lost his life, and now two girls are facing serious charges. Mm-hmm. They've been charged with felony murder and carjacking, as we all know. The 13-year-old, 13. Whew, the 13-year-old will be in the juvenile system, while the other one, who is 15, might possibly be tried as an adult. Mm-hmm. So what we have here is a man dead and two girls whose lives are ruined. I think what those two girls did was really fucking stupid. That's really that. I
agree.
That's really how I can how to say it. What they did was just really fucking stupid. And I mean, there are just so many factors at play. Mm-hmm. But teenagers, as we know, do stupid shit all the time.
I agree.
This was just another level of stupid.
Mm-hmm. Beyond stupid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the thing is, too, most of us who hear these news reports obviously don't know these two girls' background. Not that, you know, people are going to really even care that much, because at the end of the day, someone lost their life. But for anyone to do something like carjacking, it really speaks to how they might have been raised. This is one of those things where the parents will be held accountable and responsible for their children's actions.
Of course.
We all have to remember here that these are minors that we're talking about. So people will question the parents and their parenting skills or lack thereof. It makes me wonder, where is their mother and father at?
That's the same thing I was thinking also too. Mm-hmm.
Personally, right. Personally, if I had to speak to both girls, the question I'd ask them is, where's your mother and father at? We're looking at one girl who is from DC and another girl who is from PG, Prince George's County. For those who don't know, PG County, Prince George's County. Two places that are known to have had significant spikes in carjacking over the past year or so. And this is some info that I came across while I was doing some research. So it just makes me think of the environment that these two girls come from. I mean, it says a lot when there are all these people out there carjacking. I mean, because to hear that there are significant spikes in carjacking, basically like the numbers are just going up, and they went up over the past year or so, that's a lot of carjacking going on. And to be honest, I haven't been hearing too much about carjackings, at least for the past few years or so. But if we all think about it, it makes sense, because now there are things like Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats, DoorDash,
Yep.
you know, all of these, you know, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense when you think about it. Basically, we're in a time now where people are using their own cars as taxi cabs now.
Yep.
And they're using it as delivery cars now. So on any given day, there could be a group of strangers in a person's car. You don't know who these people are and where they come from. You're just out here taking chances by transporting random people all over the place. So doing that does make your car more susceptible to getting jacked. Really, I mean, really, if you have
it's sad too.
Yeah, it's really sad. And really, if you have two people or more, it would be easy for them to gang up on you and try to take your car. And this actually hits a little bit home for me because I've actually done Uber before. So I know from personal experience that you're riding people, you know, you're riding random people around. I mean, I haven't been carjacked or anything like that, but just knowing that you're driving random people that you don't know, people that you never met.
That's true.
And it could be groups of people. It could be 3, 4, sometimes even 5, you know, it depends, but you're just riding these people around, these random people. You don't know what the fuck could happen, really. So, yeah, I you know, like I said, I've done Uber, so I know how this could play out. Now, what happened was something that didn't have to happen, but unfortunately it did. And now a man is dead and 2 young girls who are children. I don't care if people want to, you know, call them teenagers or, yeah, they're 13 and 15, but those are children.
Those are children.
They're children.
Mm-hmm.
And now these children are facing serious consequences that will change their lives forever.
Yep.
Oh, I mean, that's pretty much all I got on that. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you just think about it all.
They just ruined their life. I'm not even sure. And when it comes to murder, and I think in DC, I got to double check on it, but because they're minors, they're definitely might be doing life or they might be doing 25 to life, you know?
So that's actually a good point, and it does vary depending on the state and the crime and et cetera. But that's actually a very good point and a part of what I was going to mention. So I want to start by saying, of course, you know, I send my sincerest condolences to the Anwar family. Of course, they could have never expected that was going to be the last time that they saw their loved one. So, you know, it goes without saying that I wish them all the peace in the world. This situation is a difficult one. And I don't say situation lightly, but I mean this case in general is a difficult one because I totally sympathize with everything that his family is going through.
I agree.
But I do not feel that murder is the appropriate charge in this case. Ooh. Because per my understanding of murder, there has to be intent there.
Right.
And in my understanding of the law, and I've briefly worked for a law firm in my past, and it wasn't that I spent any, you know, enormous amount of hours working in law. So I want to make that clear. But from what I do understand, the more appropriate charge in this incident is involuntary manslaughter, because involuntary manslaughter is defined as an unintentional killing that results either from criminal negligence or the commission of a low-level crime such as a misdemeanor. Involuntary manslaughter is distinguished from other forms of homicide because it does not require deliberation or premeditation or intent. So what that implies is that murder normally is is the charge that is applied when there is some type of deliberation or premeditation or intent to kill that person. From what I saw of the video, that is not what happened here. And again, that is not to take away from the tragedy that the Anwar family has at their hands. But at the same time, I think that these were two teenage girls who made a very stupid and horrible decision, who should face the appropriate consequences, but based on the appropriate charge. Yeah, and I don't think that murder is the appropriate charge here. I think that grand theft auto or attempted grand theft auto, and I think involuntary manslaughter are the appropriate charges here. Because that's the entire point of the child factor when considering the law, right? Is that children inherently do not have the ability per se, right? This is not saying every single case, but per se, to wholly distinguish right from wrong in certain scenarios. I'm not saying they didn't know right from wrong, but in this case, the fact that they were children, in my opinion, played a part into why they didn't just give up and jump out the car and try to run away before it ever sped away. If you look at the video, Mr. Anwar is standing with his driver's door open and saying this is his car. He's not giving up the car. That is the point where the girl should have jumped out of the car and ran away. Adults probably would have done that. You have, people videotaping the entire incident. A criminal adult might have looked at that and said, hey, it's not smart to continue on this path, jump out and dip. You know what I mean? Run away from the scenario. I think their youth played a part in how this escalated and ended with Mr. Anwar's death. So with all of that said, it brings us to, the overall matter being, obviously, someone lost their life. That is serious, right? No one is debating that. That is not in question. They are due to be appropriately punished, and justice needs to be served here. I just don't think that murder is the appropriate charge. And I'm hoping that someone realizes that, applies the appropriate charge. These girls, face up, stand up to what they have done. Their lives are changed forever, no matter what happens. Everyone involved lives are changed forever. That man had a family. So there's nothing that can be done from that perspective. But hopefully they are remorseful. Hopefully they are going to face the appropriate charges, and they are going to make a change while they're serving out their sentence. That situation overall, and it's tragic.
It is tragic.
Very tragic.
I actually want to share something with you guys. So I just pulled up the DC Law Library on carjacking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting that it, like, carjacking is actually a federal crime. So it's actually not a misdemeanor, which was very interesting. But looking at when you carjack someone, you do get the imprisonment term. So the minimum sentence for carjacking is 7 years. Maximum is 21 years. And that's just for the carjacking. Now, if it has to deal with carjacking and it was like armed robbery as you use some type of deadly weapon, they say the minimum is 15 years and maximum is 40 years if a weapon was, and basically it becomes a high felony when you use a weapon. And because, the girls use the car, they might even use that as saying that the vehicle was a weapon to actually kill them.
Yes, and that's definitely, I guess, a possibility. But when I look at the video, I don't see that the girls were in the driver's seat of the car. So what that means is that I don't know that it was their intent to use the car as a weapon. Now, in all fairness, the
That makes
video
sense.
is not the clearest, right? Because I
That's
don't
true.
know that there was like that if either one of them had a gun pointed at him or anything. You can't really see the girl in the back seat as much as you can see the girl in the passenger seat. But I just think that justice needs to be served here. That's without question.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, the full scope of the situation is going to be reviewed and considered so that justice truly is served and rendered. And I totally just feel for Mr. Anwar's family and as well as the family of the girls. I mean, I can't imagine that either one of the sets of parents are, in a good space about the fact that their daughters have committed, a serious and heinous crime and more than likely will not be returning to them anytime soon.
That is definitely true. This law system that we're part of, it's a very, I like to use the word iffy, and I only use this word iffy because if we don't study law, you won't know what they're talking about. Because I feel like when you hear the word, like when you talk about law, it's like this demonic code, you know, because when you go to the courtroom, there's a way you have to carry yourself, and they use certain terms that many people don't know. And it's a very, very powerful thing. So I'm hoping the best towards his family. And I don't know, guys, I feel like we should do a follow-up session if once we get a verdict on this. That's what I think.
That makes sense to me. That sounds good.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
No, not at all. Not at all.